People in the house, what is a woman? Well, we're going to give our take. And although we have no uteruses, um, it seems that we know more about what a woman is than some of these progressive women. So stay tuned and we'll get into it here. We'll be right back. Oh, you guys, hope you guys had a good weekend.
That's annoying.
Thank you for your turnout on Rumble. That video is going well. When I say well, I mean well.
Yep.
It just went up yesterday, and as of today, that show is now at 1,100 views.
Nice.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
thank you for your turnout, and we did have one dissenter. It seems like
Just one.
What'd they say?
yeah, one person put a thumbs down.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
More
well.
likely a lefty that came in and didn't like what we were saying, but oh well. Tough for you.
Mm-hmm. Sucks to
More
be
likely
you.
we're gonna have a whole lot more for this discussion, though. We're gonna have a lot of lefties coming on this one after the
Yeesh.
fact. They didn't want to show up before and during the show. They'll come
that's
after
typical.
and they'll bombard the down arrow, and then they'll come in the comment section and leave a whole bunch of trash. So don't worry though. We will be
Mhm.
in the comment section right on top of their heads. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll
Yep.
be fun.
Yep.
It'll boost the algorithm because they'll be interacting with it so much they so don't.
Be sure to
That's
hit the
right.
like button right now.
Yes, or else we will not know what a woman is.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll forget. So Matt Walsh recently had a interaction with Twitter where his
Yep.
video he put it out for everyone to see for free, and one of the execs or people in charge of publicity shut it down. Only to have Elon Musk undo all that, and the video is now up and running again for free. So if you have not seen it, as much as I have issues with Matt Walsh, otherwise, I can commend him when he does something right, which is this one. And so he did. It was a really good show, really good thing. But we'll be covering parts of it and giving our take socially about what a woman is. So what I want to do to put everyone in the hot seat is to start at Bro, go down to Jay, and come across to Mr. Coy. And please tell me, because you know what? I'm a lefty idiot. Tell me what is a woman?
A female adult, someone that is born with certain body parts at birth, not changing them at birth, that are born with certain body parts. That
Mhm.
a woman is something that I'm attracted to. A real woman. My mother is a woman. You know what I mean? And it's you have certain chromosomes. At the end of the day, what is it? The X? What is it? XY?
Triple X. No,
XX.
just kidding.
No, I forget. I'm not a chromosome. What is it, Coy?
XX.
I'm gonna let you have that one. Or you don't know.
XX. Okay, thank you. Whatever. But yeah. Females have certain chromosomes. And you know that old saying, at the end of the day, when you're buried in the ground and they dig up your bones and they want to do a test, guess what they're gonna run? Well, guess what you're gonna come up as?
Yeah.
A woman. So a woman
Okay.
is an adult female that has certain body parts that I enjoy looking at.
Mr.
There
Lee.
you go.
There you go.
I mean, there's nothing really more to say other than the fact that even if you don't have the ability to have those body parts function, like let's say you are a woman who's barren, you still have the natural capacity and the natural inclination for it. So everything that Bro said, plus that little tiny additional caveat is, you may not have a functioning womb, but it is naturally, it has the capacity to be able to bear children. And among other things, like, your entire pelvis is much larger so that you can fit a baby's head through it versus a man where you'll probably die.
Break his hip,
to
hopefully.
try, basically.
I am not
So-
a seahorse.
No. So
Go for
that would be what a woman actually is.
Okay. Sweet. Coy.
Boys have a penis and girls have a vagina. I was wondering if somebody was going to do that quote, but that's what it is. It's an adult human female. That is what a woman is a person who is capable of giving birth. And we're not talking about seahorses here, where the males get to have the babies, okay? We are talking about humans, primates, Homo sapiens. They have XX chromosomes, and they are born with certain genitalia and abilities that men do not possess in the XY chromosome fashion. So I can produce sperm gametes, and they produce eggs, and they meet together and they create life. That is what a woman is. The purpose of a woman is to continue on the human species. That is the most central pillar of humanity, is a woman, because without them we would all die. So that is what a woman is.
Oh, here we go. Oh man.
So what you got, Lefty Marlena?
The reason I asked is very specific. What our discussion today, I'm not giving my description of a woman because I don't know. That's why you guys are here to educate me. I don't know what a woman is. I told you I'm a lefty. Remember, that's what I said at the very beginning. Don't forget.
You're a very principled lefty there, Marlon.
Okay. I want to learn. I know people have been telling me I'm dumb and stupid and I don't know what I'm saying. So please, I want to be educated. But I do have a rebuttal before we go any further about your statements. If you say that those things are what defines a woman, why do some men feel as though they are women, and some women, if that's such a thing, feel like they're men?
So that comes about from a misalignment in the brain and chemistry, whatnot, whatever it is the feminization or extra estrogen of the brain is what most people would attribute it to, probably, and most likelihood that's what it is. It's a mental condition, which is what we've decided to call it from all this time. From the DSM-5, we've always said that this was a condition where somebody has believed that they were gender dysmorphic. The same way if somebody is body dysmorphic, they feel that they're too fat or they're too skinny, and that's what bulimia and anorexia comes from. It's the same sort of mental condition that people have known about for years, but now we have just been gone to this thing where we shall accept and tolerate all of this, even though we know it's a mental condition that we shouldn't, and that we should be trying to help these people out of. There. Okay, that's what I think.
Okay, but I wanna prove to you that a woman can be a man and a man can be a woman, because you said that it's based on genitalia, and I'm saying I'm talking as a lefty. Okay, I'm not reasoning through a whole lot here. So I'm going to flash something on the screen, people, because I can't keep it up very long. But this is my proof.
Yeah.
That was my proof. That was a.
Why did it have to be a white guy?
That was a woman who actually is a man, and she went about making sure that people understood that she was a man. Now she has all the male thingies. Does that make her a man now because she has the thingies, like you said?
Is that dick?
No, it doesn't,
because it doesn't actually function.
Yeah,
you didn't say it has to function. You just said she had to have it.
Well, I said, let me play devil's advocate. Now there are men out there whose tallywhacker doesn't function. So
yeah, and that's why they're lonely.
Let's go back to the guy that we watched the other day with Obama. The principle of the matter. The principle of it is that if with a man that doesn't have a functioning penis or a woman that doesn't have a functioning vagina, the principle of it is that it was possible at one point, right? The principle of it.
Oh,
you could be possibly wrong. I mean, if we're talking about possibilities,
being a man is more than what I see. A lot of these people with this disorder, being a man is more than a social, construct. You ever notice how when these people, whether it be a woman that wants to be a man or a man that wants to be a woman, they go the most extreme route of being that. You know what I mean? They think this is how a man acts, and I'm going to overdo it, and I'm going to do that and this. And being a man is a lot more. Being a man is a protector. Being a man is a nurturer. Being a man is a provider. There's a lot of things that men do that they couldn't. If one of these chicks want to be a man so bad, tell her to jump in a ring with Mike Tyson and tell me, how
Most men ain't
hard.
gonna do that. No, come on,
Yeah.
man. Ain't
Yeah.
No man ain't gonna do that.
I know.
Well, that's the same thing. But he's
I'm
right.
just saying,
He's right.
I'm just saying, would one of these, because we always talk about the dudes, and there's a reason why we always talk about dudes that transition, because they're the ones in the forefront. They're the ones that want all this extra stuff. The women that transition kind of stay silent. They're just kind of, hanging out, doing their thing, they're transitioning. But ask one of these women, if you was to get into a fight, and I'm not talking about the ones that fully transition. If you was to get into a fight, you're carrying yourself like a man, and a man came up and fought you, would you still consider yourself a man? If he beat the brakes off you, or would you consider yourself a woman at that time?
Well, like Coy said, it is an imbalance in the brain chemistry. Therefore, they would still probably consider themselves a man, even if they got their tail beaten.
Unless you beat the brains back into submission and correction.
That reminds me of a clip of something. There was a show that did that, where like he punched a pregnant woman, but it looked like a pregnant man, and so he got in trouble for it.
That was Family
Was
Guy.
that? Yeah,
It was at a ball game.
That's
you mean
right.
him? You mean his baby?
And
best thing out of Family Guy.
The problem with it is, and it's probably happened. I've never seen it, but I guarantee it's happened. You got a chick out there parading around like a man. I'm a man. My name is blah blah. That's a man. Gets into a fight with a real man, and then everybody's screaming that it's a girl. You just hit a woman. Well,
no, I didn't. I hit a man.
She told me she was a man. That there's going to be fine lines. I'm telling you, you guys got to be very careful with this, because if you come at me saying you're a man, right, and you're a chick by birth, and I see you fighting a woman because you still got female tendencies in you, you're out here fighting a woman and you're beating the crap out of this woman, I'm jumping in and I'm beating the crap out of you.
Like a man ought.
Like a man ought to, right? Shouldn't a man protect a woman?
Wait, hold on a second. I'm confused. You just said that.
I brought up that clip, by the way.
I can't play it because it would be a copyright strike.
Man.
If a trans man was being confrontational to a biological woman and the trans man was beating up the biological woman, you would jump in to beat up the trans man.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Unequivocally.
This is so hard to figure out, because it's like...
No, well, here's how you fix it. If a man thinking he's a woman starts beating up a woman, I'd beat the tar off that man because he's a man.
But
simple.
What do you got to worry about? The backlash.
No, I don't have to worry about the backlash.
No, I know what you're saying, but this is these are the fine lines that you cross. So if this dude,
or they want us to cross,
who's 200-pound burly man that says he's a woman now, and since he's a woman, he's out here beating up women, and you go in there and beat his butt because he's a man, they would look at you as a woman beater.
Good. I hope they look at me that way, and I hope they continue.
I mean, nobody looks at what is Fallon, the freaking fighter in the UFC, like that was fighting all the women and crushing women's skulls. Like nobody's calling, like the people called it out and said, "Oh, you're transphobic because you're not letting her fight in the ring with women and cracking skulls." That's perfectly acceptable for everybody on the left. That this woman is just straight up handsing these women and cracking skulls, and we're completely fine. I identify as an AR-15. That's right. I identify as an Apache helicopter.
Call me what you want. I always say, if I don't agree with something and I think it's like wrong down to my moral code, if I think it's wrong and I don't agree, and you call me transphobic, so be it. Guess I'm transphobic then. So be it. Oh well. They ain't gonna change nothing in my life calling me names. You know what I mean? So people just got to stop worrying about what they call you and just call it what it is and stand by what you say. We're so worried about these outside influence and the social ramifications from you voicing your opinion. Screw that. It is what it is. Say what you got to say.
I mean, for me at this point, So for me at this point, I started off with indifference. Like, you do you. If you're an adult, I don't care. Just whatever. But now they're to the point where they're pushing it so hard that I am officially one of those phobes. I am a bigot.
Totally agree.
So I want to now take it, since I've jumped off of you've convinced me to not be a lefty, because I don't want to get the brakes beat off of me when I identify as a woman. I like my face. I want to swing things over to a more historical viewpoint of what this all came from. Okay. And for many who don't know, I have no doubt that many in the room may know, but I know for sure the four on the screen of we all know about this particular person I'm going to bring up. His roots are indeed based in Marxism. And I want people, before I go on to say who he is, the activity that takes place in Marxism is all antithetical to reason. I want people to understand that there's nothing logical, reasonable about Marxism or communism or socialism or any of the other isms that are of that ilk. There is no logic to them, because you can't walk it down the whole line and have it maintain common sense throughout.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be at least one point in there where it fractures so severely that you have to abandon reason and give in to the feeling of something, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. And meaning you have to abandon right and wrong altogether to follow it all the way through. That person is John Money.
Oh.
Now, if you know anything about John Money, they call him the father of the gender construct,
Modern gender theory.
and his whole logical premise was so skewed about sexual preferences because he himself was a pedophile. And many don't want to say it, but John Money was indeed a pedophile. What he intentionally wanted to do was to find a way to normalize the attraction of adults to children. And the best way he found to do that was to go after the reasoning of sexuality from an aspect of it can be altered, and that you are born a certain way mentally, which would affect the way you act, and thereby being it's something you can't control, like race. You want to know why it ended up linking itself with the black plight? You want to know why? Because they have to find a way to take away logic from your mind and replace it with emotion. What better than to go on the back of something as painful as slavery and oppression and link arms with that? This is why we keep going back to the civil rights movement being an absolute Trojan horse. Okay. They came in and they now associate black people, which is why they're going after the black culture so heavily with this homosexuality nonsense. They want to incorporate your plight with being a cross-dressing, mentally deranged, sexually confused human being. What John Money ended up doing was being a very successful person at it. And now you see the full range of what he was trying to do. This explains why the trans movement is trying to influence children and then tell you they're not grooming, which is exactly what John Money said. He's not grooming, but it's exactly what he was doing.
We have
Which
proof
is
of
why
that.
you can see them bringing the books that they bring in front of children, which is why you see them doing the kinds of things they do on parades in front of children, and which is why you want to see them having people dress a certain way in front of children and making it normal. This is all in a step, which is why I say I don't care whether you consider yourself straight or gay. If you're looking at children with that kind of eyes, whether you have your own child and trying to transition them at birth, you are a sexual pervert and you need to be put down. That's just the simple fact of it. Either change your mind or I'll end you. Those are the two options you really have. You don't have any other options. I don't care what options you think you have. You have two options: harm a child, put you out. And I'm not talking about your misery, out of the child's misery. I'll put you out of that child's misery. So I wanted to bring him into the topic and hear your viewpoints about Mr. Money. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I think. Well, okay. Here's the thing. Do we know? I wonder. I mean, I think we all do. But for the sake of the general public, in order for him to be able to prove his theory right, what he did was he had two twin sons, and he raised one of them to be a girl, and to prove his gender theory to be what it is. The problem is that he's done so much lewd behavior to his children of just grotesque sexual abuse that the one that he raised to be a girl, which was a biological boy, committed suicide, when he grew up. And then later on, the other one also committed suicide because of the amount of abuse that he suffered. So just recognize that with this whole gender theory, this whole modern gender theory concept came from this guy who, like Marlon said, is a pedophile, and he committed both of his kids to commit suicide. So that's the root of this whole deal.
I correct you real quick, Jay Lee. It's not his kids; it was somebody else's kids, which is worse.
That's even better.
Yeah. So if somebody else's kids, they came to him as a doctor and said, "Hey, can you help us?" Because it was a botched circumcision, right? One of the boys had a botched circumcision, and he said we can raise him as a girl, and he won't know the difference, right? And then by the time he was a teenager, things started to unravel, and then while they were growing up, he made them do sexual acts to each other. To each other. That's how messed up the whole thing was.
Worse.
Yeah, what you said was bad, but what actually happened was much worse than you thought. Yeah, so this dude was absolutely insane. I mean, if you took the quintessential idea of what a German Nazi doctor was, that's John Money, right? Doing weird experiments with children. He was basically a Nazi doctor. If you really wanted to break it down like that, just think of the most evil person you can, Nazi scientist, World War II, it's that guy.
On steroids.
On steroids.
That's just it's all part of eugenics too, man. It falls under that umbrella of eugenics. But these kids or these people that are consider themselves another gender, this community is always throwing out in the forefront about unaliving themselves. If we don't do this, they're going to unalive themselves. If they don't do this, the unaliving rate of these people are whatever percent, 0.00 point whatever percent. But if you really look at it, it's the confusion that is coming from the adult in their life that is forcing these kids to do this. Imagine being a little boy like some of these kids, and we see it, and your parents are telling you, you're a girl. Your little mind doesn't even know the difference yet. You're a girl. You're a girl. And then by the time you get of age and you start going to school and you start being around kids that understand, like, you're not a girl. What? I'm not. What? I'm not. Yeah. You're a boy. That confusion sets in. That screws up their whole reality. So now they're growing up very confused because their whole life, by the people that they trusted, they were told that they're this when they're really this. And then they start learning, they start reading about it, and they're like, oh my God. And then by that time, their brain is they're done, they're lost. So it has nothing to do with these people not being able to transition. It's the confusion from when they were raised that forces them, that causes them to do what they do to themselves. I'm just saying.
Here's the other thing. Like, you really think of it, how absurd the whole thing is, right? If you're let's say your 8-year-old comes to you and says, hey, Daddy, I don't like my arm. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Can we cut it off? You would obviously say, no, that's insane. Your arm is perfectly fine. I'm not going to cut off your arm. Exactly. Okay, but how about my toe? And like, no, of course not. And then they come up to you, here's a more reasonable one. Hey, Dad, can I get a tattoo at 8? Be like, no, that's probably a bad idea. That's a life-altering thing to do to yourself and your body. We should probably wait until you're 18, right? Obviously, a good parent, that's what they would do. But no, it's perfectly acceptable to cut off, like, lop tits and cut dicks, and that's perfectly fine. But tattoos are out of the question. We're not even going to acknowledge that we should get kids tattoos. Like, that's what they should be advocating for, is like tribal tattoos for all 5-year-olds. There we go. That's what we should be doing right now.
Are we still on YouTube?
That's how ridiculous the whole thing is.
Yes.
We still, okay.
Sorry.
Just making sure.
Sorry, I just, this whole topic gets me really riled up, and I don't mean to, like, get us in trouble with YouTube overlords, but they're
and like CPS and local authorities will hold a parent accountable for mental abuse, right? So if my kid came home very young and I was telling my kid he was stupid every single day, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're a dummy, and he goes to school and says, well, my dad tells me I'm ugly and I'm stupid, guess who'll be knocking on my door? CPS, verbal abuse. So why isn't something like this confusing a child to think there's something that they're not? Why isn't this considered some form of abuse? Once they turn 18, they go.
But here's the problem. Okay, you mentioned suicide. They talk about how if you don't give them that, then you will cause them to commit suicide. The
Yeah.
suicide rate among transgender people in the United States that consider suicide, listen carefully, is 85% of them consider suicide. Half of them on the female side do it, and half of them on the male side do it. So 85% for the females consider it, 85 and 77% of the men consider it. 37% of the men kill themselves, and 42% of the women kill themselves. Now, if you're trying to tell me that if you don't give them the transition surgery that they commit suicide, are you telling me that half of the population of them get the surgery? Is that what you're trying to convince me of? That the other
Mhm.
half that don't get the surgery are the ones that are killing themselves, yet still they're still alive. So I'm trying to make sense of just the stats of the ones that actually kill themselves. So here's the problem: what I see is that in your effort to make them or identify them as that, you are creating the epidemic of the suicide.
Mm-hmm.
You are implanting for them their body image to the point where they don't feel like they fit in. When if you had not indoctrinated them to think that way because of your sexual perversion of yourself, you would not be putting your children in a position to want to kill themselves because of confusion to what their body in
Mhm.
reality is telling them, to what you are telling them as a falsehood in their mind. You know what
Yeah.
creates psychosis? A conflict of reality and fake.
Mm-hmm.
And when you try to bump up fake crap in a child's mind and they don't see it bearing out in reality, you know what happens? Psychosis. So now they have to try and do one of two things: either satisfy the people that tell them something is real that's not. And when they realize they can't do it, you know what happens? Suicide. Take a vet, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay. When a veteran comes home and they're mentally unstable because of what they've seen in war, and then you try to tell them just ignore it, it's nothing wrong with that, you should just be adapt to what's around you, and they can't do it because they have no mental way of getting past it. They
Right.
have to now try and reason with reality in a location where there is no sense being made,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing they think of doing is ending themselves. That's how suicide really gets perpetrated among the people that are mentally off. We are raising a society, unfortunately, in the secular world at least, of a generation that will lean more and more. You'll see this number go from 85-42 to 85-70, 85-80 to almost 100% equal across the board as they find out they kill themselves because there is nothing that will actually regulate them even after surgery.
Yeah.
Speaking of a
I was gonna
woman
say.
after surgery, there was one on this Matt Walsh's video that it was a she, right? She transitioned as a man
Yep.
and did all the body removal parts and all that stuff, did all the testosterone, and she was on the program. And I'd like for us to just kind of sit back and watch her story real quick. It's about 5 minutes long. And then we'll have a brief discussion about what she said, because it is a girl. And what you're going to see may look more like a man, but this is what they're trying to do in order to confuse more people. And if Planned Parenthood don't work, they'll kill you after. And if that don't work, they'll put you in a gang, and the gang will kill you. Their whole game is control of the population, and they have to find multiple avenues to do it and not just one. So, if you wouldn't mind pressing play there for me.
I never fit. I was an alpha female, a sales executive that kind of just didn't fit in any box. When psychologists or somebody that I was in love with or whatever said that I was in the wrong body, I started to think, well, maybe I am. I'm a biological woman that medically transitioned to appear like a male through synthetic hormones and surgery. I will never be a man. Is it transphobic for me to tell the truth? Why is it that a couple hundred years from now, if you dug up my body, they're gonna go, yeah, that was a woman, had babies.
Can you tell me about the procedures that you had?
I've had 7 surgeries. I've had 1 stress heart attack. I've had a helicopter life ride with a pulmonary embolism. I've had 17 rounds of antibiotics. I had 6 inches of hair on the inside of my urethra for 17 months. Nobody would help me, including the doctor that did this to me because I lost my insurance. I get infections every 3 to 4 months. I'm probably not going to live very long.
Was there any real discussion of the risks and the side effects? And
No. No, there's not. And I know that people want to think that there is, but there's not. The truth is that medical transition is experimental. We have studies that said that medical transition helps mental health with kids. They've all been retracted, modified, changed. But the only long-term study tells us 7 to 10 years is when transgender people are the most suicidal.
after?
After surgery. But that's transphobic to say.
Puberty blockers, which are completely reversible and don't have permanent effects, are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty. Just like if you were listening to music, you put the pause on and we stop the blockers and puberty would go right back to where it was. The next note in the song just delayed that period of time.
You can just pause puberty
No, you can't.
and then pick it up
No, you can't.
in the future.
No, you can't. How many studies do they have, long-term studies, on hormone blockers with children? None. For the first time in history, a marginalized group has a huge dollar sign on the top of their head. Every child that they convince is transgender and in need of medical transition, it generates $1.3 million to pharma. And we're believing a pharmaceutical company, Lupron, hormone blockers, reversible, so they say. Well, the truth is that in 2003, Lupron was sued and deemed a criminal enterprise by the US government. They paid the most fine of any pharmaceutical company at that time, $874 million, wrote a check.
Is Lupron chemical castration?
Yes. We're giving it to pedophiles, aren't we? We're giving it to people that are dying, and we're giving it to kids, telling them that they were born in the wrong body and it's completely safe. We're telling children when they haven't fully developed that all you have to do is medically transition and you fit in. I was one of those kids. It got me at 42. Your child doesn't have a chance.
What do you say to parents? A parent comes to you and says, my 8-year-old son is telling me he's a girl.
Yeah, great. You're gonna have them do an experimental procedure that creates the most suicidal ideation of any other population 7 to 10 years after, transition. And here's what I tell parents. You don't have the right to medically transition your child.
Can kids consent? Do you think kids are
No.
capable of consenting to this?
No, they're not. Being a parent is loving the hell out of your kids and helping them see around corners. We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States promoting that.
And what?
That's a phalloplasty. That's a bottom surgery. We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States telling girls that they can be boys at $70,000 a pop in a surgery that has a 67% complication rate. That will kill me from infection that I can't sue on. We're butchering a generation of children because nobody's willing to talk about anything. I have 3 kids. At the age that they're doing this to kids. I'm not transphobic. I love my kids, and I love other people's kids, and you should too. This is wrong on so many levels.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to.
So, this is where it's going to get a little more to the heavy side of the conversation. And I'm going to address my comments, and I'll leave the rest to the panel here, but I'm going to say my 2 cents to the women out there. And I'm talking directly to women, not the mentally deranged men that think they're women. I have nothing to say to you except straighten up and fly right. And what I have cannot be offered to you as help because you're too mentally far gone. So I'm going to speak to the women whose world they're trying to invade. If you're a left or a right, There were certain women that wanted certain rights in this country, and there were certain types of men that wanted to keep it from them, right? Whether or not you agree that women should have certain rights or not, that's not the point I'm talking about. And I'm definitely not talking about abortion as a right. That's not what I'm discussing. I'm talking about certain rights about work, certain rights about voting, that kind of right. Because I don't think murder is a right. And if you're an abortionist, to hell with you. Um, the same men that your people fought for and against, or sorry, fought against back then are the same men transitioning now. They're the same men trying to remove you from whatever ground you gained during the so-called suffrage, during your rights movement. The same men that you're fighting against are the same kinds of men transitioning and trying to transition children today. Most of them are chauvinists. Most of them are perverts. And most of them hate women because they either can't get one or they're gay. And they want to find a way to be you so badly that they have to lie to themselves. My request of you is that you straighten up and fight this thing. If you never had a suffrage movement in your lifetime before, this is it. This is actually what I would have considered a women's suffrage movement. Women standing up now to this nonsense and telling stupid men that they have no right to invade on what you are, or even to say that they are what you are and can do what you can do. You are built a certain way to do something that no other species can do. That's plain and simple. And there are idiotic men trying to take that from you.
Mm-hmm.
So for all you strong, independent women out there, maybe stop giving men the platform. You think that they're so, it's a with the patriarchy. You're giving into the patriarchy, you clown. The more you allow these disgusting trans men to take over your sports and take over your areas, you are giving in to the so-called patriarchy you're fighting. In essence, you're being just as stupid as those men. So you have two choices at this point. Watch whatever ground you gained over the years disappear from under you, or stop the insanity while you can. And you know what will happen in the process? You'll end up realizing there's something great about being just a female. There's something great about it. And you'll realize something else too, that you being able to birth a child is by far the most great superpower you will ever possess that a man will never be able to push.
True.
So,
amen.
Yeah, and it goes for like the women transitioning to men also. They're trying to take masculinity away from men by saying now men can have babies. Having a child is very feminine. Only a woman obviously can do that. And they're creating, these women are transitioning, keeping the same parts. Keeping the same parts to where they can create life, and now claiming to be a man, saying now men can have babies. You know what that's doing to men also? That's making these young boys grow up to not look at man as a masculine, strong figure. Because now what they're doing is they're comparing these men that can have babies, they're comparing them to women. We are two separate entities. We have two different purposes on this earth. This is why we come together and create life. So these women and men, but mainly women, because your space is being attacked a lot more than the men's space, but it is happening, not as frequent. You got to stop co-signing on these dudes. You got to stop calling them queens. You got to stop giving them high fives. You got to stop praising them. We get it. It's Pride Month. We get that. And we understand that. And we respect people that want to be gay or lesbian. Got it.
Correction. Bro does. I do not respect at all any, and I'm saying it in front of everybody. I don't respect you. I don't have the same views as bro. I don't respect you. I just want to make sure that's clear. I don't want to say any. This is not hate to bro. I'm just letting people know I don't respect you. I'll be clarifying that tomorrow. So,
and everyone, just like Marlon, everyone has the right to accept what they want to accept. I don't care if somebody sleep. I really don't care. Am I going to co-sign on it? No, I'm not going to co-sign on it, but I'm one of those people, live or let live. Hey, you do you, just do you. I'm not your judge. I'm not your jury. That's between you and God. At the end of the day, I don't control what you do. But the question we always have to ask ourselves, has it gotten to the point of acceptance or tolerance or acceptance? What is it? Because before, remember when we were growing up, a lot of us, it was just like acceptance. Hey, they exist. Okay, yeah, we know.
Mhm.
But now it's almost like you have to tolerate it or else. Or we're going to do this. We're going to attack your business. We're going to attack your social media. We're going to destroy your livelihood if you do not, or I'm sorry, it used to be tolerance, now it's acceptance. If you do not accept this, raise your right hand and take an oath to this community. That's where it's almost getting to. To where people are scared to say their true feelings on it online. So, stand by what you believe in, stand by your truth, and stand your ground, especially your moral ground. I'm just saying.
It's not just acceptance, it's celebration. That's what the entire month of June is that you have to celebrate us or else. It's not just acceptance. And that is one of the things is like I've had this argument before, right? What people choose to do in their own home, in their own places as an adult person, whatever, it's not my place. People live their own lives, whether it's right or wrong. It's not up for me to decide. That's for the higher powers, whatever that may be, whatever you believe in. It doesn't matter to me. It's not my life, right? But at this point in time, they made the mistake of going after children. And that's where the line is for most of us, is that children are off limits. They always have been. And when you start grooming children for this ideology, that is when you have overstepped it. If you want me to be accepting of you and just ignore you, fine. I can be tolerant of your lifestyle. You don't need to force that on me, and you don't need me to celebrate it for you, right? Because my life is my life. Your life is your life. That is the quintessential thing. You do you. The whole point of equality is that nobody should care. You're not special anymore. That's the thing that people don't understand. If you want true equality, that means you don't get to be special. And that's the thing the left doesn't understand, is that once you get over that hurdle of equality and everybody's the same and you get your gay marriage and you get all your rights, nobody cares about you anymore. You're not special. You don't need a month celebrating you because you got what you wanted. You're just like the rest of us. All of us, other heterosexual people, you're just the exact same. Nobody cares. Stop telling me I have to celebrate you, and stop telling me you get to be special and I have to celebrate you for what you are. No, I don't. I get to live my life and raise my kids. That's all I want to do. I don't want you in my schools telling them they have to be a certain way. That is not acceptable. It's never going to be acceptable to go after the kids. Can we tolerate your existence? Absolutely. Can we accept your existence? Sure. But I do not need to be forced to celebrate your existence. That's the difference, right? You don't get to be special when you get equality. And right now in the United States of America in 2023, you're not fucking special. Sorry, that's my 1F. I just wanted to get that out. You're not special.
He completed that.
This topic always gets me, but there's a video I put up, Marlon, that I wanted to show with Dr. Peterson that is really good on this topic and how he says
go
it.
after Lee. Gets his 2 cents.
I mean, there's nothing really more to say other than the fact is this. Like, the more and more we delve into the realm of being progressive individuals, and we're progressing towards what the left defines as exactly. Yeah, it's to the point now where we are the progressive people are actually regressive, to quote what's his name,
Jordan
Dave Rubin.
Oh, Dave
Rubin. He would always talk about the regressive left. Here's the thing that I'm seeing to be the case is that as we're progressing towards this progressive thing, we're regressing back to where now we're regressing back into degeneracy. And the next thing, I mean, between feminism and the poison that is, to where the women are now wanting that special treatment, the homosexuals and gay pride are wanting that special treatment, and now we've got this whole trans thing to the point where they're encroaching on children. And the thing is that I think far too long we've lived in this bubble of complacency to where they're not going to come after our kids. Well, they actually are, and it's going to be your kids that are on the chopping block. And like the guy, like the woman in Matt Walsh's video said, they are going after your kids and they don't stand a chance, especially if you as the parent are not going to go and fight for your kids. No one will. They're coming for your kids. And I, as a single guy wanting children myself, to see other people's children face such a dilemma such as this, to where they're utilizing emotional talking points to get them to buy into this. No. And it's to the point where my intolerance will be what protects my children. And my unacceptance of this philosophy will be what protects my kids. And if you don't like it, you can off.
And real quick, they are forcing people to become more intolerant. Also.
Yeah, they're creating the same people they hate.
They are doing this to themselves, and they keep moving the goalposts. So let's say we give them everything they want. They get boom, you get whatever transition on demand. They'll move the goalpost again. They'll just keep moving it. They'll just keep doing it, and they're never going to be happy. So at some point, we all have to put our foot down and say, that's it. We're done listening to you. We're done looking at you. We're done promoting. We're done high-fiving you. We're done doing and all that. You're just going to be another heterosexual male or female, like Coy said. You're just going to be another person on the street. I'm not going to acknowledge you, and I'm not going to, give you any praise for something that is.
And the thing is that with what Coy said, equality isn't a smorgasbord buffet you get to pick and choose what's equal.
Yeah.
So if you want equality, great. You're nothing special. I agree.
That's right.
Equality is white cooking.
Yeah. It's mayonnaise. It's
Okay.
mayonnaise.
I want people to say equality is what the stereotype of white cooking is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No salt.
If y'all want, I thought y'all didn't like white cooking. I thought nobody liked unseasoned food. Now y'all saying y'all want it. Like, make your mind up, man. Come on.
Creole, talk my language.
Yep. This is a good video to listen to.
Tell me, well, you were so mean to Ellen Page. And I think, well, Ellen Page is a star, and she advertised her transformation and made the claim that this has revolutionized her life. And then she displayed her new body in a public forum and got 1.7 million Instagram likes for it, and probably enticed, well, let's say one young girl who's confused into becoming sterile, which is one too many for me, but it could be as many as what, 100, 500, 1,000? And I have my tendency to feel a hell of a lot more sorry for a set of confused, isolated, and lonely pubescent girls who have no one to love them enough to help them appreciate who they are than I do for one overprivileged and unfortunately confused narcissistic Hollywood star. Tell me, well, you were...
Boom.
Exactly.
I love that guy.
To wrap this gift up with a bow, and please, people, spread this out, because here's the thing. This is one of many topics that we here at the Savage Patriots are going to be always as passionately involved in, because regardless of our varying beliefs on the religious side, we all share one very specific social goal. And at the center of that social goal is the next generation. And what we are not willing to compromise on is the next generation's future, for them to be able to sanely, keyword, choose what they want to do without the influence of pedophiles, sickos, and mentally deranged human beings influencing them.
That's right.
That be from a political aspect to a social aspect to a sexual aspect. We are not in the business of allowing that to go unchecked. This particular topic, just like you saw with Mr. Peterson, his anger, and he may not call it that, but it's what it is, and it's okay. Yeah. It's the right type of anger. His anger that you saw displayed is justifiably so. And if you, as a normal, rational human being, have jumped on this bandwagon of Pride Month, you may not be as rational and logical as you think you are. I would dare say that you might be mentally deficient yourself. And I dare say you shouldn't be around children either. If there ever was a need for CPS, it'd be now to remove children from the likes of you. Any human that pushes this Pride Month on a child needs to have every semblance of parental rights removed from you, because you're not a parent. You're a perpetrator and a predator. A different P word altogether.
Mm.
Okay, I just want people to understand how, at least I, for one, I hopefully might talk for some of the people on the panel, they'll get their chance to say their parting thoughts. But for me, while I disagree completely with the lifestyle as well of the homosexual movement, you cannot tell me that it is a correct thinking, one, and two, don't bring to me, well, the straight people, that they're not straight. A straight individual sees an adult woman and wants to have relations with an adult woman in a marital sense. That's a straight person. A confused person is the opposite of that. And you fall into all kinds of stupid categories that you create for yourself to make yourself feel valid. Okay, so that's want to make sure that's clarification out there for people to understand, at least from my end.
Yeah, that was a great point, man. You had me tingling a little bit. You know what I mean? Had the hair standing on the back of my neck. But one thing, you know, I look at things like in historical, ways sometimes. So if we look back in time at Hollywood, right? Look at some of the movies that we all thought was funny and we were like going to watch it. You know, you had men dressed as women. They were socially conditioning us back then. You had Mrs. Doubtfire, Tu Wong Fu, Moulin Rouge. I mean, you think of
Big
every
Mama
movie,
House.
Big Mama's House. All these movies where they had, all these movies where they had men parading around like women. And I'm not just talking like for a snippet. I'm talking about the movie was pretty much based off of that.
Oh yeah, White Chicks. Forgot about that.
White Chick, that one. So they were socially conditioning us through these movies to say, oh, that's funny. Look at that. That's good. That's okay. You know, they were just acting. And then here we are. And moving forward, the movies are gotten more and more prevalent. Now they're showing people going through transitions. Now they're showing, you know, so we have to also take a good look at ourselves too. You know, because if we could have fast forwarded to now and went back and watched those movies, we wouldn't be watching them. We would have never even went to the movie theater to see them, but we did. So even I'm glad we've grown up to see the truth. Some of us didn't take that movie as whatever, and there was actually people that called those actors out for playing those roles. But it's going to get worse if we don't start being more defiant with this stuff in our kids' face, in our faces. We have to be like, nope. You see it on social media, I don't want to see that. Somebody comes across your TikTok feed, I don't want to see that. You don't want to see it. And if your kids are seeing, if they're under the age of 18, you have to keep track. Nope, you're not watching that. Nope, you're not reading that. Nope, you're not watching that. You have to, because if not, their little minds are so fragile. That stuff, you know, it's going to poison our mind. Now, what happens outside the house is hard to control, but inside your house, that's where morality begins, in the home. I'm just saying.
You're muted, Coy.
Sorry. I thought I had it unmuted. I want to draw attention to something. If people that think this isn't just kind of a global thing that we're fighting, this, Marlon, if you can bring this video up, this is one of the executives for BlackRock. And if anybody knows what BlackRock is, you'll know that it has its hands in absolutely everything. And listen to his own words of what this is.
It's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said.
How do you force change, though? I mean, Larry, BlackRock has really been in the forefront of the ESG movement within corporate governance and a real leader, and yet change is so slow. So what is, and Ken as well, how do you force change when it is so incremental and so gradual?
Watch his fingernail.
How do you do something more radical? Have you thought about that? Has the board
painted,
of American
the thumb.
Express thought about more radical things we could do to enhance diversity and inclusion?
Because it has to be imbued in the culture of a firm. It has to be talked about. It has to be shown. Behaviors across the entire firm in every region have to be similar. And every citizen of the firm has to understand what is acceptable behaviors and what are unacceptable behaviors.
So in other words,
from his own
conditioning.
words, exactly. So whoever thinks that all these companies doing all this woke nonsense is because they want to. It's not. It's because I mean, a lot of it might be, but then at the same time, I know it's forced because of people like that executive in BlackRock. They are forcing these behaviors on the population. They are social engineering us to find all of these things acceptable. Like bro was saying with movies, it doesn't seem like it's coordinated, but it is. Like these people are trying to change absolutely everything about the American culture and what made us great, and they are destroying it one brick at a time, and we're watching it in real time as the American empire is falling. And we the only way to take it back is with our money and with our family. That is the things that they value the most. They want your kids, they want your family, and they want your money. And you have to take that away from them the best of your ability. Not everybody can do that, not everybody can afford to do that, but you have to do it in the best way you can. Right? So being self-sufficient, making your own food, doing these things, building your communities, taking your kids out of schools for one is the biggest thing you could probably do. And I'm not saying undereducate your children. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is that you cannot let the government system control your children for you and spend less time with your kids, because the more time you spend with them, the better morals and values they will get. And they're not being taught by everybody else's kids and the system. That is the most important thing right now.
Jay.
We started this off with asking the question, what is a woman? And we answered it within our panel saying that a woman is this is a female that has the potential to give birth. But also a woman is the front line that creates the culture within inside the home. And while it is the men that sit and protect and provide, it is the woman that shapes the culture of the household. That's where the domain of a woman lies, is in the household with your kids. And if we're understanding statistics correctly, even Obama said this, but the success of a child is based entirely upon the mother and the father remaining inside the home. And when the mother and father loves each other as husband and wife, and then that pours down into the children, the success of that child is exponential. And if, like Coy said, if you want to begin building the next generation, it starts with you women recognizing the fact that you have a power in your femininity, in how you relate to your husbands, in your femininity as how you raise your children, and how you order your household. When women decide to do that and embrace not just their femininity, but the power that they hold in their femininity, that has the potential to literally change the course of nations, the world, because you are raising the next generation of leaders, culture makers, artists, politicians, governors, doctors, lawyers, farmers, electricians, plumbers. It doesn't matter. It all starts with the idea that you, as the woman who understands you being a woman, will be the ones to shape the very culture you live in. And it starts inside of your household. So when we say, what is a woman is a biological female that has the potential to change history because of the way you raise your kids.
At the end of the day, you know, everyone has to understand like the grand scheme of this plan. I know we're getting close on time, but I'm gonna say it real fast. Population control. They're trying to reduce population by forcing all these lifestyles on people. If we can get people to date the same sex, if we can get people to cut off their whatever their junk and, you know, change this and change that, they can't procreate. So without procreation, our society dies. It's it. And then the lower the numbers get, the more control they will have. The powers to be realize that to them, there are too many people on the earth. That's impossible. You know, there's so much land mass here in the world. So if they can reduce it, they can control every aspect of your life. This is another reason why they're pushing all this.
Yeah.
Think about it. And look at the Georgia Guidestones. Even though they're gone, Georgia Guidestones said it right there in front of our face for years, and no one talked about it.
Right. I want to do one callback to what I was saying, is that a woman is the pillar of the family, always has been, always will be. The pillar of civilization is a woman. I know that feminism is what got us to this point now that has destroyed the family, but you had the best job in the world. It was creating civilization, and they tricked you into thinking that your career was more important than your children.
There it is.
Queen.
Queen, yeah.
My final thought.
For those who don't know
Slay.
how the queen functioned, because you know the title of queen? The queen was there to hold down the fort while the king took care of everything externally.
Mm-hmm.
The king
Yep.
took care of the domain. The queen took care of the kingdom.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's a great
I
analogy.
hope you understood that. That is exactly how it worked out. And what the king did was put people in place to take care of the queen,
That's right.
because the queen's
Yep.
job was his children and the rest of his domain, while he took care of invading forces and expanding the territory for her to have a hand in.
Mm.
So when you call yourself a queen, the queen didn't rule. The queen had her position that was so definitive that the king did things in order to make sure that she had what she wanted to make what he had that much stronger. Your queenship is not what they say it is. It's way better. And if you don't embrace it, well, you're just a pauper posing as a queen.
And without a good queen, the king
King
would
is no
never
longer
be
the king.
successful.
Nope.
No.
Never. And that's, if you're married,
Ask Henry V.
if you don't have a good wife or
Oh,
sitting at
jeez.
home or whatever, taking care of the house, taking care of all the minor things, and you're out doing your thing, if you have that at home, a strong queen taking care of your kingdom, you can do anything as a king.
And can I just say that as a single guy who does have the desire to be married, I'm going to tell you right now, feminism ruined it for even the women today. And feminism is co-signing off of all of this transgenderism and all that stuff, this career woman, strong boss babe mentality. That's all feminism. And if we are going to agree with Coy, Bro, Marlon, and myself that the domain of a woman and the power of a woman to be an actual woman, I have no hope. And it's because of the women who are believing and co-signing off this nonsense. But
hey,
prove me wrong.
Hey, did we post the link to What is a Woman? Matt Walsh's video in the chat?
No.
Yeah.
Is that it in the chat there?
Where?
In the private chat?
Oh,
yeah,
well,
that's it.
Don't use
not
that
one.
Don't use that one.
Well, all they have to do is go to Twitter. We don't have to really post it in the chat. If you go to Twitter
or
go
Daily
to the
Wire.
Daily Wire, you can watch the full documentary for free, and it's very good. I would sit your whole family down and watch it, because it's nothing that a kid can't. A kid can watch it, in my perspective, and learn something. Always,
they're pushing way worse in school. So
yeah,
way worse. Today on Too Strong, we'll be tackling the truth and reality that some don't want to face of Tupac being indeed a homosexual. You'll see it in real time with proof. He shows it for himself. If you still want to follow him, don't ever call him gangster, because he ain't gangster. He's definitely gay. So, and if you think he's gay and gangster, that tells me that gangster is being gay. So, hey, believe what you want. So we're
real quick.
What?
We're to the single queens. Jay and I are single.
The real queens, real
queens. You want some
not the
successful
male queens?
kings?
Okay.
Right here.
So that's going on in 25 minutes on Too Strong. We just dropped
over there, folks. Get over there.
Hold on. We just dropped a whole bunch of educational stuff this week about the Black community on Too Strong. One of them being the first Black Congress people. And then we'll be dropping another one later on this week about the Black Wall Street. So, and not just the one Black Wall Street, the multiple Black Wall Streets that many may have not heard about. So make sure you tune into that, and we'll be back on with Too Strong in the next couple of minutes here. So make sure you jump over there and follow over there too. Lee?
Like, share, comment, subscribe, smash that rumble button, and we will see y'all next time.
Peace. We out.